Hello, Susan Yasui here. I've got chapter 21 of Through the Eyes of a Child. And this, of course, is the story from my daughter, following her experiences with different cultures, her mother being American, myself, and her father being Japanese. All right, so this chapter is entitled Much to be Thankful For. It's a little heavy, but stick with me because the ending is fine. All right, chapter 21, Much to be Thankful For. There we were playing in the sun without a clue of what was about to happen. Even my mom, who is usually thinking of safety first, didn't think anything of it. We were up at my father's hometown rice farm with my American grandpa. We'd gone up by train the day before, a 2-hour ride that always seems to put me to sleep, even when I'm not tired. We got there after dark on Saturday. We were too late for dinner, but with 8 people living in that house, there always seems to be food ready to eat. Mom and my American grandpa take their baths or showers in the morning, giving them a good wake-up to get the day started. But I took a hot bath with my 3 Japanese cousins before snuggling under the blankets of my futon. No matter how many people visit there at the same time, we always have enough futon and spaces to set them out. When you hear about the small living quarters in Japan, they surely aren't talking about the big country farmhouses. My daddy made miso soup for everyone the next morning, and there was sushi left from the night before. Mom was always happy with a bowl of rice, a big umeboshi pickled plum, and some nori. But my grandpa was trying to sneak some sugar and milk into his rice bowl without anyone noticing. They were also the only 2 people trying to scrounge up coffee first thing in the morning. Oh yeah, still doing that. I got outside early to check on the frog I'd caught the night before. He was still in the bucket I'd left him in. I set him free in the creek because by then he must have been lonely for his mommy. That creek used to run right through the kitchen before my dad's elder brother modernized the kitchen for his new wife, she being the new woman of the house. It still runs right to the back door and then turns a corner and flows around the back of the house and on down the hill. I squatted down watching my frog swim away and then started catching the acorns as they floated by. I collected up several and put them in my pack of treasures to take back to the city. My dad and his elder brother started working in the fields, cutting back the weeds that had grown up along the sides of the rice paddies. All that was left of the rice were little stubs where the stalks had been cut off a few inches from the ground by the automatic rice cutting machine. My mom was raking up what the men cut and piling it up to be collected after it dries. We kids were playing with the Japanese pumpkins from the dried vines nearby. Some vines with pumpkins growing from them had climbed all the way to the top of a pear tree. I thought it was a pumpkin tree at first. We piled all the pumpkins on the side of the field, and then my dad brought around the gas-engined 6-foot carry cart for us to load the pumpkins into. We formed a line and passed them along and into the cart. These pumpkins were about the same size as the usual size ones in America, but they were green. They never do get orange, even when they are fully ripe. Then we all piled into the cart, too, and started across the field. Mom was probably too busy trying to get a good picture of us all piled into the cart on top of the pumpkins to realize that the cart was not stable. When we came to the edge of the field, my dad had to make a sharp left turn from a little bridge over a creek to start up the road toward the house. Mom had just put the camera down when she looked up and saw the cart on its side. She gasped, "Oh my God," and ran over to the cart, afraid of what she might find, just as my dad was lifting the cart upright again. Two of my cousins were standing already, but my younger cousin, Tsutomu, and I were covered with pumpkins down in the creek below the small bridge. Dad was in shock himself, having been the driver of the cart, not knowing what he'd done to the children. Mom slid down the side of the creek in the mud and reached down for me. I was so glad to see her. I was really scared, and I actually thought I was going to die. Then my dad was by her side and they lifted me up to safety. Getting Tsutomu out was not as easy, even after lifting me off of him, because he was flat down in the creek, still covered with pumpkins. My mom and dad threw pumpkins aside and lifted him out. He was covered with mud, but luckily he had fallen face up. Had he been face down, he might not have been able to breathe in the mud. We were also lucky that the cart tipped while on the bridge, throwing us down into the ravine. Had we been in the flat field, the cart itself might have injured us. Lucky, too, that the creek didn't have as much water as it does sometimes, or we both might have drowned. We all tried hard not to cry, but it was such a relief that everyone was okay and such a close call that we couldn't help but let the tears spill when the shock of it all started to ease. My mom didn't notice that she had injured her knee when she slid down in the mud into the creek. It's amazing how we don't notice pain in an emergency. My dad was really tired that night. All he wanted to do was get to bed, but he saw a chance to do something special for us to make up for what had happened earlier in the day. He sent us to the barn to pick out pumpkins for carving. We were so excited, jumping up and down and laughing as we ran out the back door. Then my dad smiled too, the first time all day. The green Japanese pumpkins are,
Okay.
thank you, are harder than our yellow ones, and they are very difficult to carve. Dad knew the big job ahead of him, carving faces into pumpkins for each of us, but he made up his mind to do so. We had lived in America enough to where my husband knew about carving jack-o'-lanterns, and but the meat of the American pumpkin is much softer, much easier to carve. First, he drew several different faces on paper and had each of us choose which one we wanted for our pumpkin. Then half of our group took a bath while the other half watched as our pumpkins transformed into scary faces. Finally, all of us bathed, and in our pajamas, we turned off the lights and were so proud of our candlelit jack-o'-lanterns. My mom took a picture of that too, with the events of the day behind us now, with Halloween and Thanksgiving nearby, and much to be thankful for. Boy, isn't that the truth? Well, I have a picture here of the three faces that the children chose from. Let me show you that first. These are the pumpkin designs that my husband drew for the kids to choose from. And look at this. I have the picture of them with their pumpkins all these years ago. So let's see if you can see those. Oh, I'll get a little closer. Okay, there we are. My daughter Yoshimi with her cousins. Everyone safe and healthy. Much to be thankful for. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.